So we are really excited to be on the second edition of the Dream Team Jewel Training call. And tonight's call is about recruitment and retention. And we really felt like those two things went hand in hand. And so we are going to sort of take those things apart. And Allison is going to be talking about recruiting. And I am going to let her take it away.
All right. So it's really funny that over the years, I would take this part of my business and overcomplicate it to a point that recruitment would slow down. Anybody ever done that? Right. So when I came out of the gate with Plexus, I was recruiting like crazy. And then I started overthinking what I was doing and that process. And when I started doing that and stopped making it simple and about the other person, I noticed a drop in my recruitment numbers. I think probably at this point over 200 level ones that I've personally recruited. I should be like diamond times 7, but the retention piece that Ashley's going to talk about is something that I didn't learn more about till later. So I'm just really excited about both of these topics because they're things that I have had to get good at. I have had to put the things into practice and learn them. And Ashley knows that process too. Like you hone skills, you learn skills, and then you realize sometimes that those things you started off at the beginning with, you need to stick to them. So I'm just going to dive right into recruitment. Recruitment is literally bringing people into your business. Those VIP customers. That's the nitty gritty definition of what recruiting is. But how do you get there? Like, what is the thing that starts this recruiting process? And I think that there are several little places that we could say this kind of burst to, and you could point to that being the thing that helps you recruit people. But I feel like ultimately it all points back to the things that you do to be good at recruiting really points back to relationships with people and building those relationships and ways that you build relationships with people. I want you to think about all of the things that you do in your business, the posting, the stories, the content creation, the messages that you're sending, the follow-up that you're sending, the good customer care that you're doing, all of that should have a component of relationship building. And this is why when I make a post, I usually have a figure in my mind of a person that I'm talking to, because I don't want to, on social media, I don't want to talk to a group of people. Even in my stories, I try to avoid saying things like, hey, you guys, or hey, y'all. Sometimes it pops out just because I'm thinking about the people, but hey, how are you? Because we really want to have a like personal focus on people versus a group of people that we are bringing in. Does that make sense? Like you're focused on that person that you are wanting to reach. And when you share your content and when you do your follow-ups and things like that, the words that you're using are very personal and relational. So, of course, when you start your business, it can be kind of simple, like the recruitment, like you got your mom and your dad and your sister and your aunt and your best friend and all of these people that are there that are there. They're like just really easy. I like to use the analogy of the hot and cold game that we used to play when we were little. Those people who you're very, very close to, and you've already created relationships in a way that you've invested in them. It's like a relational bank. You have made deposits into those relationships. And so when you start sharing something, it's just really simple to ask them to take a look at it or ask them if they'd like to try it. But the further you get away from that, the more intentional you have to be with building new relationships. And in our business, a lot of that happens on social media. And you should actually be doing that in person too, like when you're out and about in town. But I know as a mom with lots of things to take care of on the home front, a lot of this happens on social media. And so like building your posting and your quality content in a way that's going to connect with a person's need or connect with the heart of what they're struggling with and the heart of what they need, making people feel seen. That is really huge in relationship building. And I'm not just talking about your Plexus content. I'm talking about the other 80% of your content that you're sharing. Genevieve shared at Gold School that 80% of your posting should be non-Plexus content and 20% of it should be Plexus. So if you're making, for every 10 posts that you make, only 2 of them are going to be directly Plexus content. So you want to be sure that you're relational with that. And then another thing that you do is like you're connecting with other people's content. You're looking for their heart in what they're sharing. And connecting with people who are not Plexus people. And then sending messages to people about what you see them sharing. So something this might look like is instead of just commenting on a post, someone that you really believe could benefit from this, you see that they went on a trip on camping and you have a camper too, or you like to tent camp, shoot them a message and say, hey, where did you guys camp? That looked amazing. Start a conversation. You don't know where that could possibly go. Before you get to the end of the conversation, you may hear that they had to come home early because someone had high blood pressure, or that they wish they could have made it a 2-week trip, but they had to get back for XYZ commitment that Plexus could actually be a solution for, like extra hours on the job or something like that they need. So open up those conversations. It may take you a little longer to see that lead into the solution that you have to provide. But when you are opening up conversations, you're going to see that. Okay. So I mean, starting conversations with people, it gives you space to spot their needs and offer solutions and serve them. You will not see this so much just on public posting. It has to happen behind the curtain. That's where a lot of that is going to be. And so taking time in your business, like the largest chunk of your business needs to be spending time on these conversations and learning to need spot and being bold and brave when the door flies open or it cracks open to stick your foot in and say, hey, you mentioned XYZ. Have you ever noticed or have you seen me talk about it may or may not be a good fit for you, but would you be open to questions like that when they open the door, when you see that need that they have? Okay. And then after you've started these conversations, you want to make an ask. That's what I just mentioned. And then after you make an ask, Plexus created this system a couple of years ago, and I think it's genius, and I still use it, called Send, Share, Invite. Keeping your process really, really simple is important for 2 reasons. You want to have a lot of conversations with people, but if you don't have a simple system for how you have your conversations, you will get overwhelmed. And you don't want to get overwhelmed. You want to keep it simple. And if you're not keeping your conversations simple and they're complex and they're over the top on all of the info, when this person gets interested in sharing Plexus, you don't want them to say, oh my word, I could never do what she did when she signed me up. You don't want people to do that. So keeping your process super simple. So sending and sharing and inviting, what does that look like? Sending a testimony or adding them to the Happy and Healthy page and tagging them in a testimony. And then sharing what you recommend. And the invite portion is, okay, so you would send a I'm get more specific. You're going to send them a testimony or ask them, hey, can I tag you in a testimony in Happy and Healthy and in our testimony page? And then I'll send a screenshot and I'll say, this is the page. Did you get the invite? Or I'll click the link. I'll send them an invite and I'll click the link to the page and send it straight to them. The less work they have to do, the better. And then I'll tag them. This is not a conversation that you want to happen over 3 days. It needs to happen, boom, right then. They're online at 10 o'clock at night, handle it. Go for it, do it. Don't let them sit on it. People think more deeply in the nighttime hours. It's true. And they're very open on the weekends because they have more room in their budgets. So then you would say, did you see that? What did you think about that testimony I tagged you in about PCOS? What are your thoughts on it? And how could you relate to that? Did you see something in there that felt very familiar to you? And then the question, would you like to take a look at what I would recommend for that? There, boom. Then they're going to have like this in between, yeah, sure. And then you'll start the conversation. You want to send the information very, very quickly to them. You want to get the welcome packs. I always give 2 options. What would this be a good fit or this? And usually I send an advanced package and I send a basic package, and I let them know that the advanced package is the best option financially because they get to try a lot of options and usually resets included in that. And then I get one of 2 answers. I don't, I had one lady tell me the other day, she was like, well, thank you for sharing with me. Not really interested. And I had shared an advanced package with her, and she shut me down hard, like door slammed. And I went right back in. I was like, oh, Miss Suzanne, would you like to take a look at one of our basic packages? I knew instantly what it was. It was the money thing. And I said, would you like to take a look at one of my basic packages? She says, yeah, honey, just go ahead and send it to me. I said, does this look like a better fit for your budget? I just went ahead and spoke to it because I knew what it was. I knew what was holding her back. And she was interested. Like, she's ready to get started. I'm going to message her right after this, and she is probably going to sign up. But you've got to have that boldness to see what the issue might be. If somebody shuts you down fast, after you've gotten to that point, it's probably because of cost. So work with them. If she hadn't wanted to that, I would have gone to Slim. If she didn't want Slim, I would have gone to Active and Ease, or just Active, like something to keep the conversation flowing and keep her and me connected. Okay, so what if they don't go right? Like, what if they don't do something right then? Well, we always have events going on, and that's what the invite portion is. You always want to have that list of people, inviting them to, we have corporate events, we have team events, we have sidelines having events. If you see somebody on our team, Jennifer's team, the whole big team sharing an event in their stories, you better know they're totally fine with you asking if you can jump in there. Like, we are one Plexus, and if you see somebody having an event, they are going to be thrilled for you to join in. So just message them and ask them. There's always something going on, but you want everybody from the last few days, you want them getting an event sometime this week. You want them hearing information. This process should really only happen in just a few days. So what if they don't bite? Okay. And you can't really stay in that conversation. They go quiet. They get really, really just, really quiet on you. What are you going to do? Follow up. Like, how often should you follow up? So I kind of have an idea, like, I have to assume that because I have 4 kids and a bazillion things that I'm doing, and it took me a really long time to learn the swipe left to mark something as unread when I want to come back to it. I have to assume that either their spouse opened the message on their iPad, or one of their kids walked up and interrupted them and needed something while they were looking at the message. All these stories play in our head. Oh my word, what did I say wrong? She's going like she doesn't want to do this. It's too expensive. I shouldn't have said that. I shouldn't have. We tell all those stories when we're bringing a person on board, when we're recruiting, and we need to actually write down some stories about what's true and what actually happens to us. How many times have I not answered a message just because I got interrupted? It's literally 100 to 1. Okay. It is 100 to 1 on the messages that I've ignored. I don't ignore people's messages. People try to recruit me for other companies and I answer them. I don't ignore them. So like, most people have enough guts to be like, I'm not really interested, right? I don't want to do it. So you're going to follow up next day. Hey, I sent that information over yesterday. Did you see the tag in Happy and Healthy? What did you think about it? Hey, I'm not sure if you saw my message. I know sometimes my kids open my messages on my phone. And I figured that's probably what happened to you. And then you can always add this, because if it makes you feel better and it'll also take the pressure off them, I just want you to know that if this is not a good time, that's totally fine. You can tell me. And then people are like, well, my daughter had a cheer expense last week and we don't really have the money, but if you'll message me back next week, and I get my planner out and I write it down. But I had to keep that conversation flowing. What if they don't answer that though? Then I just leave it for a little while, usually until maybe the next Friday, or there's something comes back up in Plexus, or we have like a free membership that we're offering. That's when you reach out to those people. I usually just let it sit for a few days, but I don't write them off. Like, they always are open on my follow-up sheet until their name gets circled It is open season. And usually I will write a big NO out next to someone's name rather than crossing it off, because Plexus is going to release a new product someday. They are going to have a huge bonus someday. They're going to have something that I'm going to share, and it's going to be the right time. So following up the 12 times is really important. You do not know how seasons are going to change. You don't know the scary doctor visit someone's going to have, or the bad news at work that someone's going to have, or the stress that they're going through right now that's going to wreak havoc on their health in 3 months. Be willing to stick out that 5 to 12 follow-ups with people. I have had people join my team and rank up quickly after sharing with them for 6 and 7 years. 6 and 7 years, y'all. And they still come. Lots of people in between that, but never give up on people. You do not know how this will impact their lives and when they are going to need it. Keep the doors open. If somebody tells me no, that's a good sign to me that, hey, they don't understand what I have. They don't see their need for it yet, or they don't trust me to be a good person to help them. So how can I step in and be that? Backing away and being afraid of them on social media or writing them off or taking it personal is not the best way for me to serve them. Leaning into that person after they've told me no or ignored me, that is the right approach. Leaning in versus leaning back away from them out of fear, because fear is self-preservation, and I don't have to keep myself safe from other people because I'm a servant. I'm serving them. So I don't have to protect myself, because that's what I'm doing. I'm just serving up something that they may or may not need. So just continuing to show them their need and helping them through that. Okay. I think I got recruitment. And then she's going to kind of dip into, like, when you sign that person up, what does it need to look like? Sometimes this happens during dinner, guys. Sometimes it happens during dinner time. Sometimes it happens at 10:30 at night. And I don't go to bed at 10:30. You might go to bed at 10:30, but somebody's like, I'm ready to sign up. That's only 10 minutes of my life. And I don't have to have my hair fixed and my makeup on to do this well. Okay. Ashley's going to take it away into recruitment.
Well, first off, I just want to say that was an excellent job, Allison, and the proof is in the pudding. And her team was seriously on fire last month, and that was because of all the years of all that work that you are talking about, and everything that she said. We know that she's putting those things into practice, and it's duplicating down because of the things that she's seeing happen in her team. So way to go, Allison. And thank you so much for sharing all of that. So I honestly was a little hesitant because I was like, I don't feel like I just love to listen. I sit and I listen to people. But to me, retention is really my favorite part of Plexus. And I really do believe that it starts during recruitment, because the way that you recruit somebody is already setting up a frame around the way that they see Plexus, around the way that they see these products. So if you're one of the people on this call tonight, and I'm sorry, I must have a little frog, who is struggling with price of our product. So I just want to go ahead and eliminate the elephant in the room. I'm learning that that's okay in Plexus. So if you are one of those people who says, I struggle with it because I get to this point and then I have to tell them what the price is. I want you to go do some really hard digging, and I want you to maybe even go out and look at the price of other things, and you will realize the value of our products. And so the way that you are setting that up during the recruitment process, I used to be a person like that too. I know what it feels like. I was on such a limited budget, we took it out of our savings to do this. But guys, we have value in these products. And so I feel like when we short sell ourselves and, we don't demonstrate the value of our products to people during that recruitment process, and as we go into them saying yes, you do not have to put these products on sale. Okay, these products are going to, what I'm trying to say is it makes the value of our products go down whenever we constantly are saying little comments, maybe about price or that. people are going to buy what they're going to buy. So I just want to go ahead and eliminate that from the beginning, that we want to demonstrate the value, and it keeps the integrity of Plexus what it is. And who all in this room is glad that our products haven't even gone up during all this inflation? Like, I have been amazed. Amazed. I'm so thankful. And I know eventually it will happen, but y'all, we really do have something amazing for the price that we have. So let's talk about retention a little more specifically. So I think a lot of times we think that retention is just keeping people ordering every month or bringing them back in after they've maybe dropped off. But I really believe, like I was talking about earlier, that it really starts in the work that we do in the beginning. Just in those conversations that Allison was talking about having, you're already building that relationship. And to me, retention is where it's just like where the magic happens, because they've said yes to the products. And now you get to follow along with them on this process of watching this really amazing thing happen in their health. And guys, we can't just be the kind of people who get them to say yes and then just drop them off like a hot pocket. Okay. We are going to be people of integrity, and this team is a team of integrity. But what I'm saying is, we have to follow along with them in the process and be willing to kind of get into the mud, because we know that they're going to go through things that they're probably not going to be talking about to anybody else. So to me, I really value that time, because really, I've really seen that. Sorry, I said really twice, didn't I? But I have seen that this is where relationships are even grown to a deeper level, because I sort of joke and tease about it, but when people are talking to me about their poop, they're willing to talk to me about a whole lot of other things. And so I have had some amazing conversations with people, and this is where I really feel like it takes our relationship to the next level. As we know, we do have some follow-up systems. And so to me, that is sort of like the thing that you do once they are into the products, you've gone through that initial detox phase, and we're doing those follow-up systems as we go. So don't think about retention as this is just a way to keep my business the way that it is, or just to keep my points at a certain level. This is really where those relationships, where the rubber meets the road, and really where our business can blossom. And things that I have seen to work over time would be signing people up over the phone. But like Allison said, having had so many of those little conversations along the way, you're doing all the things. You're staying, you're commenting on their Facebook feed, you're commenting on their stories from time to time. I'm not saying you got to be all up in their business all the time, but what I'm saying is you're there, being present, and they know that you're actually a real person. It sort of makes that bridge into the Plexus relationship a little bit easier. And so calling them on the phone, like she said, 10 minutes out of my life, it gives you that chance to have that conversation. So when you're talking about the link, you get to have that essential conversation that we've talked about. I don't ever want finances to get into the way of you being able to afford these products. So if you love them, would you be open to sharing about them? Our company has these amazing incentives. Like this month, we're giving away Nikes for if you just have 3 people who do the same thing you did. And so establishing a realistic expectation during that time, because everybody, is after the quick fix. And so I feel like just go ahead and being open with them. Like, I want you to give this at least 3 to 6 months before we even make a decision as to what we're going to do, where we're going to go from there. And I mean, I usually inform my people that, just like anything on the pathway, till things get adjusted and we get some healing going on from the inside out, you can expect to see some things that you might not always see. I don't always just throw everything out there that people can see, but I am pretty open with my people. And I say, like, just tonight, I was actually doing a voice message on the way home from something I was doing. And I told a lady who just signed up last week, I said, I'm going to be following up with you in a few days, and I'm going to stay with you really close during this initial time, because I want to make sure that everything's okay. And I want you to reach out to me if you notice anything that is off or you don't feel good. Please reach out to me. So I really established that right from in the beginning, like, I'm going to be talking to you. And I have had, actually, in the past 6 years that I've been doing this, I've had times where I've had to, people were going through detox so bad that I have said, I'm going to follow up with you every single day. And I did that because those people were in such a mess that, I mean, you just have to be willing to get in there with them and do this, and that's where the magic happens. So anyway, that's just one example. And that was sort of an extreme example, but I do practically myself, I do at least try to follow up in those first few days, once or twice in that first week, and then at least once a week until that person is well established and on their way. And that may be more than you do, but for me, I personally just feel like I want to keep them going and I want to keep them educated. I don't just stop at how are you feeling? It is, I noticed that when we talked, you said that you wanted to see improvement with, you weren't going to the bathroom enough. How is that going? Like, I get in there with them because they are the ones who told me what their problems were. I bring them back up and I try to ask questions that aren't just like good, So I think that's important, is to continue the conversation, because sometimes even in that first month or two, before they're seeing these products work, they kind of don't like you because they don't feel good. I remember that with Amanda. I joked and teased her in my first few days. I'm like, what did you do to me? So we just want to keep the conversation going. So let's see. Also, another thing that I've seen work really well, and I see this happen even down some of my downlines. Julie's really good with this with Valerie, is three-way Zooms. Like, let's hop on a Zoom I will keep you 10 minutes, or three-way chats. Lots of my team members will throw me in a chat with their people. We used to do three-way calls. If your person really likes to talk, that would be a good way to do it too. Any way that you can connect them with somebody else outside of yourself is going to help that person. And there have been times whenever I just tell my people, I'll say, this is my sponsor, Amanda, or my friend, Amanda. And we kind of introduce each other. And I'm like, I want you to know that she's here for you just like I am. And if you can't get me, you can ask her in this chat. And I have had so many people become friends with Amanda just because I've introduced her like that. And then she will kind of continue the conversation on. So we have that responsibility even with our downline. So we want to make sure that we're holding on to those people too, So a couple other just practical things, Allison mentioned adding to happy and healthy. I do that for all my potentials or my people who are customers. Something else that I started doing is saying I send a thank you note to every person. And Allison and I were sort of talking about this. After 6 years, I don't know why I didn't just understand this, but the business building bonus, she said that's why they call it that. Because I take my business building bonus and I use it to send a thank you note. So there's your stamp, which is terribly expensive these days. And then I have bought like these little earrings I'm wearing right now. I wore these to show y'all an example of something that I found these little businesses of people, friends of mine that just, they're not expensive. You don't have to buy something expensive, but I have sent these little earrings to people who have signed up as VIP customers. And it fits into a little mail, a little envelope, and it's not any more than a stamp. And so writing a handwritten note, I have really found that to go a long way. And then I also love to put in there like a sample of Active or a sample of the Slim that they didn't order. So I always check to see which one they got, and then I'll put in a couple of the other ones that they didn't order. So be real careful though, like don't practically just telling y'all, don't bunch them up in the card and kind of lay them flat, and it will kind of go through the mail pretty easy. But that's one thing that I really found to help too, because I've had that happen to me from other companies, and it really means so much to me. It's very special. So I think that's really about all that I have. I just think it's really important because I think that good customer care and doing the work up front, I mean, I see it. I've talked with some of my team members about this too. I really see it like stewarding these people well. Like, they have come to me and they've trusted me. So I want to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do on my end. And, if they choose to walk away, I can say I've done everything that I was supposed to do. And I've helped them with what they tried, what they came to me for. And there have been people that I have had that with, and there have been people that I've walked through that process with very closely. I mean, one of those follow up every day kind of people, and they still walk away, but we still have a good relationship. And so I feel like that's because I carried her through that process the way that I felt like I was supposed to. So I feel like that's all I have. Allison, did you have anything to add to that?
That was so good. And you're good at this. You are, obviously, because you have a heart to serve people. And I think everybody who's met you or follows you on social media can see that. So that was amazing. One thing I thought of when she was talking about signing people up over the phone, when you're enrolling people on from social media, a lot of times you may not have met that person, or you may not have seen them in a long time. I will actually tell them, I would love to chat with you and get to know you for just a few minutes while you get started. And it just kind of like pulls all the walls down. Like, this is not a business call. This is me wanting to connect with you. I want to get to know you. And Ashley and I talked about this earlier today. I think it's really important to note that retention isn't about getting people to come back and order. That is important. There are good strategies for doing that. There is customer care for that. But it's, and it's not about getting people to keep ordering. The things that you do, it's not about this force that you're like constantly trying to make sure they're ordering every month. That's not why we're doing retention. Retention is good stewardship of this person. And and I put this in the chat, like, it's like having a Plexus baby. Like, you're committing to that person. You're committing to their health journey and just being there to serve them in whatever capacity that they need you to. So like, you're doing the work up front at the start where they have the mindset to be successful. They have the understanding of the communication, and even the financial understanding, the financial commitment. Those follow-up systems are for keeping people engaged, but you want to make sure you get them plugged in, like get the power running. So good, Ashley. That was great.
Yeah, I really didn't mention getting people to silver. Jennifer Harmon might actually know the statistics on that, about how many people, like there's a really high number of people who get to silver and the amount of people that actually continue ordering over time. Do you know those?
Well, the statistic that corporate shared was 80% of people that get to silver are ordering their products a year later.
Oh, that is amazing.
Yeah.
Talk about residual income.
Mm-hmm.
That is it right there.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have people, and I know that the people on this call do too, that actually, that brings up one more quick thought. But I have people on this call that I did a sip and see for 6 years ago that are still my customers and have ordered every single month for 6 years. And y'all, now that kind of brings up another little thought that I was having today. They do say that, people are wanting to get back together again. So like in-person events and things like that are extremely good for retention, because they see who you are. They see you're a real person, and you don't have to be, selling a product. You can be building a relationship with people while sharing a product with them. And to me, that's what makes Plexus unique. We're not selling a frying pan. Now, nothing wrong with selling frying pans, but I'm not going to be on a journey with somebody with a frying pan. Retention is about the journey. Like Allison was saying, y'all, I have stories of people on this call right now. Anna Bordes, she's on our Jewel call tonight. Like, her story makes me want to cry. Like, never felt that about my Pampered Chef thing, and now I'm not saying comparing products, but I'm just saying it is different. So it's going to take something different. So if you're, to be honest, I am more of a relational person. Like I don't succeed at that in all the ways, but I'm just saying, like, I do like to get in deep with people, but you can learn that. And my husband is learning that. So I want y'all to know you can learn it. It doesn't have to be something that you're naturally gifted at. We know, and we have seen some of us Jules who are in the Jewel chat, there are people who are recruiting like 40 people a month. Like, you can be the star recruiter of Plexus, but struggle with talking to people. We all are growing in all these different ways. So if you're like, man, I can recruit people like the drop of a hat. Well, let me just tell you, I can't. But I'm going to love those little people, and I'm going to love them well, and I'm just going to hold them, so that is more of a strength for me, so if you are I was taking notes on Allison's recruitment because I want to grow in that, and I still want to grow in retention too. So just know that we're all growing. Like, just because this is the Jewel training doesn't mean that we're not growing ourselves.
Oh yeah, 100%. Always. Yeah, when we hand our teams a training call, it's because we already listened to it and we're like, whoa, we need to do this. Yes, for sure. Okay. Well, let's see. We'll have a couple of minutes. Does anyone have a question for me or Ashley? We'll take a couple. Anybody? So loud, I can't hear anybody. Just all doing it at once. No?
I think a good question to answer, Allison, would be how do you handle how did you get from point A to point B in the sense of getting past the fear? Because I know that many of us have, but I know there's a lot of people on our teams who are still struggling to get past instead of leaning away from people when they go cold or ghost or say no, how do you get past that fear and go to lean into it?
Well, sometimes I think it takes even putting pen to paper, however you process things. And if you feel something scary and you hear something scary in your head, like, oh no, I upset them, or oh no, they're not going to like me now. Like there's always that thing, right? That pops in your head. What is it? What is the thing? And what could also be the other truth? I had to like play a mind game with myself. Like, well, what if they aren't really frustrated at me? What if their kid did interrupt them? What if they're really broken? They just don't want me to know. What if it's an embarrassing situation over there and they just don't want, like, learning how to make different assumptions about people, right? And if they're saying no to me and they're being rude, I'll never ever forget this as long as I live. Who was it? It was it Victor Antonio and also Sonia Dudley? The first convention I went to, he made up this thing where like your hand had a big button in it. And if somebody had said anything negative to you, like push the button, go, and like send it back. And Sonia Dudley talked to us about that too at a mindset training that I went to when I was at Gold. I don't even remember where we were. We all piled in that hotel room and stayed up all night talking. It was ridiculous and so much fun. But she talked about learning how to take negative things that people hand to you if they're being rude, if they're just not being kind. Like, I don't have to take that and hug it and pet it. I can look at me like, no, that's not mine. You take it back. And you don't have to say anything to that person. Besides, I totally understand. But in your heart, to train your mind, like, you take that information, that negative, whatever they threw at you, and you just hand it like, I don't want that. That's not for me. I don't accept that. I don't receive what you just tried to hand to me. And I can remember mentally doing that. Like, is this something I need to hand back, or do they mean something else? And I hope that answers your question. Because sometimes you'll hear no. And that can be hurtful when you're so invested, like you believe so much in what you're doing, and someone tells you no, then I must be doing something wrong. No, it just means it's not the right time for them. And it's not about being hard-hearted or not being soft toward people. It's not about putting up a wall, but it's learning how to create a boundary. Like, what am I going to allow to affect me? And what am I going to choose to think about it? That was a long explanation, but I hope that made sense. But I still remember that. I did that the other day. I did it literally like 2 weeks ago. I was like, no, not for me. I'm not going to think about this. I'm not going to go down a tube. I'm not going to sit here and mull over it and let it totally block out all of my ability to think straight. Like, this is not mine. This is not my circus, not my monkey. I love you. You can go play with monkeys, but not me. I'm not going to do it.
Thank you. Ashley, this one's for you. How do you handle customers who you want to love and hug and care and do all the things to help support them, but they ghost you or they restrict their communication with you? How do you handle that?
How does this feel like a presidential thing, like the presidential debate? Like, did we get these questions pre we get these pre-given next time? You know, I have had that happen to me. I just keep going. I just keep doing it. I've had people that take the products and then they don't talk, like they get their products, maybe they start on and maybe they get their products and they're really excited and then they just stop talking. You know, I just have learned so much from you guys that I just sort of say things like, I know you may not be feeling good, or, you know, maybe you're, you know, I just kind of put things in their mouth. And sometimes they'll take one and say, yeah, that's it. Or, I know you're really busy. I know. And then I'll tell them something about my life. Like, seriously, today I stepped in my kid's poop. I'm not kidding, y'all. He's potty training and I didn't see it in the brown hardwood floor. And so, you know, I mean, just saying things like that, I don't know. I mean, just continuing to love people well. But I learned this from you, Julie, too. If somebody's not talking for a while, I'll send them a little sample email and just say, I hope you're doing good. Continue talking on the store, continue talking to them on their post. I just never leave their space, I guess. And I just stay there. And eventually they come back around. But I mean, there's some people who you're not going to be able to. There's some people who are just that closed off, and it's usually not you. It's usually something else. So if I do everything that I know that I was supposed to do, I think that's all I can do.
I have a gold on my team. She's a good solid gold. Thunder Bonita. She knows who I'm talking about, and her husband is pushing gold, and they've got like a whole line of people that are like silver, senior silver, headed to gold. We've never talked to them. Like, they signed up on, like, I think Bonita's second or third level. We don't know who they are. I've sent cards in the mail. We've messaged, we've texted, different ones of us. I mean, nothing, zero communication. And they just keep getting their 1,000 PV and getting new points every month. And we don't know. And like, we can't take that personal. It doesn't mean they're doing anything wrong. It's just, they're doing
it's really important not to take it personally. Yeah, that's all I have to add to that. Because I think just knowing that you're there and people, like, even if they don't talk back to you, just knowing that you are there and you've given them all the love that you can give them, I think that goes a long way. But when we start taking it personal, then we just drink the poison.
Yeah, it affects you. Yeah, awesome. I want to give y'all like a little challenge. I know it's always good to give an action step. We talked about different things, and Ashley beautifully covered the retention. One thing I thought about was exposure to products, exposure to other products that they may not be taking, something that may be a puzzle piece that'll replace something they decide to stop taking, right? This happened. I don't know why I didn't know Plexus was doing it. They didn't tell us, but everybody's getting this with coupon QR code on the back of it in their boxes this month that tell them, enhance your journey to higher health with special savings for a limited time. Add reset to your product order of $50 or more. Shop, reset, and save. QR code right there. Okay. If you have people in your virtual office with, what would you say, 60, 65 PV, they've already got one. Okay. Make sure they know. This is good retention material, exposure to other products. This is easy. And they've already got this. You're just a second layer. Message them and say, hey, did you get one of those coupons in your box for $20 off reset? Have you thought about doing it? Really easy. Okay. All right. Well, that was fun.